Even though the blogosphere is starting to write things like, well, Breitbart kind of proved the point. And then I had a guy from Politico who wanted me to link to one of his stories on I think Bloomberg, just on Mayor Bloomberg or something or other, because I linked to stuff for a living and get paid for it. And I said, why are you paying attention to this N-word thing? It didn't happen. It was the biggest story for an entire week. And now I proved that it didn't happen. Well, I didn't prove, but I raised a reasonable doubt that it didn't happen. And he says, well, you won that round. And I said, what do you mean I won that round? Who reported that? And this is Ben Smith at Politico, okay? He goes, well, you won that round. I said, can I quote you on that? I tweeted, Ben Smith said I won that round. But ABC, CBS, and NBC didn't clean up after mess. They didn't help to redeem your reputations. You didn't do anything wrong that day, but I won that round. How do you win that round when the mainstream media that helps create the mess doesn't go after Congressman Carson, Lewis, and Cleaver and say, you guys are on the hot seat now. You guys lied. Why are you protecting these guys? And so the Associated Press did a story, because the blogosphere starts to get stories to percolate, and they get to kind of be bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where the mainstream media says, we don't know what to do, we don't know what to do. That's why they call it swift boating on the other side. When a story gets so big that the mainstream media can't ignore it anymore, Van Jones, we orchestrated the Acorn thing because we knew they weren't going to report the videos. And eventually, when Acorn lied 5 days in a row, they finally said, fine, we'll show your stupid thing. They just defunded it at the House and the Senate. Fine, we'll report it. And then they never did any follow-up reporting. We're at war with these people. And I realized that the AP writes a story that says, well, the absence of proof doesn't prove that it didn't happen, and the video that is circulating on the internet is not from the exact location where the event happened. Well, the video that we put up there, we didn't say was absolute proof. It was just to show the tenor of the audience that day. We weren't alleging that, but you could tell that the Democrats were working with their friends at the Associated Press to create a counter-narrative to stave off that we were really starting to prove that the Congressional Black Caucus and the Democratic Party lied through their teeth to malign you good people. And so when Jesse Washington of the Associated Press offered that, it was kind of a dare to me. I said, okay, we don't have proof. Well, what if we get proof that it didn't happen? So we spent the next few weeks scouring the internet, scouring YouTube, and finding an actual person in Marin County who had 4 videos from 4 different angles. And maybe I'll end it on this note, because it's 3:30 in the morning. This is what Congressman Carson said that raised my ire. He said, and it was 2 weeks later when Kerry Pickett of the Washington Times came up to me at a political event in New Orleans, 2 weeks after the event, a week after the Searchlight thing, after we'd offered $100,000, and Ben Smith had said, you won that round, and the Associated Press said you didn't prove it. She comes up to me with an audio. She says, have you actually heard what Carson said that day? I said, I've just heard reports. He said that it was said 15 times or something. She goes, no, here's the audio of him. And so Carson, Andre Carson from Indianapolis, said, this is what he says. We walked out of the building, the Cannon House building, and they surrounded us. It was like a mob. And there were like 400 of them. And they started to chant the N-word. Kill the bill, N-word. Kill the bill, N-word. Reporter says, how many people? There were 400 there. How many people yelled the N-word? 15 people, 15 times. It was this is his quote, not mine. It was a page out of a time machine. I don't even know what that means. And he invoked the 1960s and the civil rights era. That's what they were trying to do, because the same day Nancy Pelosi was comparing the passing of this legislation to civil rights legislation. This was planned in Nancy Pelosi's office to invoke civil rights language and to invoke that the Black Congressional Caucus had been not just verbally assaulted, but on the verge of rocks being thrown at them by an angry mob in daylight with 400 people, all with cameras, and we don't have one bit of evidence. And so we find those 4 videos, and I call ABC, and I say, I have proved that it didn't happen. I'm sorry. NBC, CNN, they will not show that video, because they are on the other side, and they are liars, and they are our enemy. So when they came after me, so when the NAACP, 3 months later, we've been doing this for 2 years, they X-Acto knifed a person's head off who was black to discuss about how we were racist. They made up the N-word thing. They created crashtheteaparty.org in order to manufacture, because we wouldn't manufacture it for them, because it's not what we are. John Podesta's Think Progress took one of the videos of an infiltrator who was dressed as an oafish Nazi, like Mayberry RFT, really bad, Halloween outfit. And this guy at one of these tea parties is escorted out from crashtheteaparty.org by one of you who said, "Get this jackass out of here." Okay? So what does my moral better John Podesta at Think Progress do with that clear video of the Tea Party policing a Tea Party from one of his plants trying to make us look like we're evil? They put up a video where they cut out the beginning and the end, where you just have the video of the guy saying that the Tea Party has a Nazi there. To be lectured by them about editing videos. To be lectured by these people about my behavior. Let us talk about what happened. The NAACP spends 6 days on television, ABC, CBS, and NBC. And Harry Smith and George Stephanopoulos and Matt Lauer and the entire gang lets Ben Jealous get up there to talk about, is the Tea Party racist? And they're going to come up with a condemnation. What if you were to do a condemnation? You're larger than the NAACP. The Tea Party is larger than the NAACP. If you issue a condemnation to the NAACP for being the blatant racists that they are, and I can show you tons of tape to prove it, is George Stephanopoulos going to give you 6 days to debate the point? The very act of a debate on that subject renders the Tea Party guilty, and George and Katie and Harry know this. And so I watched them for 6 days do this. And I'm like, whoa. They're invoking as the centerpiece of the Tea Party is racist, the debunked N-word thing. They're saying that the N-word was hurled at Carson Lewis and Cleaver. Put me on the air. I'll show you the 4 videos. They will not let us show the exculpatory evidence that has become the centerpiece. And they also invoke the fact that maybe a sign in Tallahassee of a birther, by the way, that's arguably Islamophobic. I think they're worried that he's maybe Muslim more than the fact that he's black. That's that person that may or may not be an infiltrator. I just don't like when they incorrectly assume that the birther person is racist. They may be fearful of his father's religion. I'm just thinking about what they're thinking, and they may be infiltrators. Okay. And so they go on TV for 6 days. What would you do if every single day you woke up, hey, hon, they're talking about whether you're a racist on TV and there's a counterpoint? That can't sound too good, because what it sends the message to the average American is, I don't want to be out there with those people, because there's a debate about whether they're racist or not. They're doing this on purpose to negatively brand you as racist, and they haven't even been able to manufacture evidence that that's the case. I believe it's evil. And so I went on a show called the Scott Hennon Show. He's in North Dakota, and I was angry. I was on vacation, and I said to him, Ben Jealous, what you're doing is so unbelievably dangerous and unproductive in the United States. I said, this country, black and white, is suffering from failed economic policies, and you're going to sit here in the middle of a summer of an economic depression and try and manipulate the race schism? Are you friggin' crazy? And I said, I have video that shows your group countenancing racism. And the Shirley Sherrod video shows a lady saying, sent him on to one of his own kind. If I used that language, they would use that on CBS against me. Okay? There is a double standard at play here. But the audience, that's you out in the crowd at a tea party. The audience is who they're blaming at tea parties, not the speakers. They're blaming the audience, and the audience reacted positively. And so when I launched that video, I wrote this all out. I wrote, eventually her basic humanity informs her to help the white farmer. I offered all of that context. I said, this is about the Tea Party. This is about your assault on it. This is about your manufactured media, Democrat media complex, manufacturing of trying to destroy what is good and decent about this country using lies and Alinsky. And so I hit the target directly. How do I know? On day one, Shirley Sherrod said, the NAACP is to blame for my predicament. Okay? What did the NAACP do? It apologized and said it apologized for the audience's behavior. I had hit the target directly, and I shut them up in their discussion about you being racist, just like I did when I showed the 4 videos. I was defending the Tea Party, and I was putting my neck out on the line and saying, stop it, Matt Lauer. Stop it, Katie Couric. You cannot do this. This is a mass of people. And what is worse about impugning and imparting upon the mass of white people, saying that they're all racist, is telling black people out there who are on the hideous plantation of the socialist left for an entire lifetime, and telling black people and Hispanic people and gay people or anyone that disagrees with the leftist orthodoxy that they are an Uncle Tom. Screw that. What is going to happen in this country, what is happening right now, and this is going to scare, I've lost some people and I'm going to end it. What is happening right now is incredibly hopeful. The Democratic Party and the media have abided by Barney Frank, Maxine Waters, and Charles Rangel, and any number of obliviously corrupt individuals. And on the other side, we have Cedric Crenshaw, a CPA, a black CPA up in Illinois, who I got back on the ballot because the Democratic machine in Illinois tried to kick her off on a technicality. I got her back on the ballot. We've got Tim Scott. We've got Stephen Broden? Yeah, so we got Stephen Broden, Tim Scott, and Colonel Allen West. All of them have more character in the left pinky than I could wish to have. And what is going to happen when these stellar candidates, who just so happen to be Americans with a different color skin win. They're going to send a message to the black community, to the Hispanic community, that you don't have to abide by corrupt politicians who are taking your money for their own family's self-betterment. That is why the Democratic Party wants to call you a racist, because they're fearful that if we clean up Washington, that black people, Hispanic people, and people of all colors and nationalities are going to say, this Democratic Party is not our grandmother's Democratic Party. This party is corrupt to the core, and it couldn't have gotten that way without the aiding and abetting of the mainstream media. That's why we are the new media. Thank you very much.